A lighter bike feels amazing. It can be harder to perceive some changes you make to your setup, but if you make your bike lighter, you can feel it. Every time you set off, accelerate or ride up a hill, a lighter bike is going to feel nippier and more responsive. And a lighter bike is also going to make you faster uphill too. But buying super lightweight, fancy pants, carbon fibre, everything isn't just a surefire way to make your bike lighter, probably also going to make your wallet significantly lighter too. And you can also spend a lot of money and only see a slight weight reduction in some bike bits. So whether you're on a budget or you're just looking to spend your cash in the most cost-effective way possible, here is a list of the best value lightweight bike upgrades that are going to give you the most bang for your buck. Fancy lightweight carbon fibre wheels look great, sound great, and they save weight off your bike, but they typically cost at least £1,000, euros or dollars. And the weight saving you're likely to make on wheels over a sort of more standard set that costs half that price is typically going to be around 100 to 200 grams, which is a fair amount, but you can also save that same amount of weight by simply switching to some better tyres or lighter tyres. So something like these tyres I've put on here are a Pirelli TT specific tyre, very lightweight, you get a rolling resistance benefit too. If your bike is simply running on the tyres that it came with as standard, then odds on you stand to make a significant improvement by switching or upgrading to a performance tyre, something like a Pirelli P0 is what we use, but other tyres are available. And then if you've already got a performance tyre, switching to sort of a time trial race day specific tyre that's even lighter can see you save another 100 grams or so on top of that. Now, one thing to point out as a slight caveat is that a sort of high-end performance time trial tyre like this is designed for that purpose. It's not a tyre that you're expected to use day in, day out. But if you've got a big event coming up or a ride where you want to do particularly well or go particularly fast, then this is a really good upgrade to pop on your bike for that special day. And while on the subject of tyres, there's something else very important that we need to talk about. Regular viewers of GCN Tech will be well aware that I'm a massive fan of latex inner tubes. Now, latex inner tubes are one of the best value upgrades you can make to your bike. And if you're looking to save weight, they're a really great way to do it. So a standard butyl tube typically weighs around 120 grams. Swap that out for a latex tube that weighs around 65 grams and you've saved, well, quick maths, 55 grams, roughly half the weight of the tubes. You can go even lighter than that as well and get some really super light butyl tubes, Continental makes some, or things like these Tubolito tubes, which are even lighter still, you know, around sort of 20, 25 grams a tube. A really incredible way to save weight off your bike. But something to point out is that you get a good rolling resistance benefit from latex tubes as well. And that's not quite as good with these other super light inner tubes. So on balance, I'd go with latex. But another thing to be aware of is that really light inner tubes can be a bit more fragile, especially the butyl ones, and can actually fail under prolonged heat buildup in the rim from braking, although this isn't a problem if you've got disc brakes. The other thing that's important to point out about saving weight on your tyres and inner tubes is that this weight is at the extremity of the rotating moment on your bike, meaning that it's going to make a bigger effect whenever you accelerate or set off as well. Next up, bar tape. Bar tape weighs blooming loads. I mean, who actually needs bar tape anyway? Well, if you choose to take it off, something which I've done in the past, you can save as much as 300 grams off your bike. Now, I appreciate that not everyone wants to remove all of their bar tape for obvious reasons. I mean, bar tape adds comfort and it improves your grip on your handlebars, and it generally looks better, doesn't it, a bike with bar tape. Bar tape is functional, but if you've got like a one-off hill climb or a one-off event that you've been training for a really long time, where you just want to do really well up a particular climb, removing bar tape can be quite a good idea. And it doesn't mean you have to throw it in the bin either. You take it off carefully, you can just simply put it back on again when you're done, which is nice. But if you don't want to remove your bar tape because you're not a complete weight weenie like me, then there's always a compromise to be made as well. You can simply get some bar tape that's lighter. There are lighter bar tapes out there, and again, significant weight savings can be made through getting lighter bar tape. Or there's how you wrap it to be considered as well. So use less of it when you wrap it, and perhaps even only wrap halfway. Something that's quite popular amongst pro cyclists is to wrap the drop section of the bar and the hood area, but then leave the top section of the bar that you don't really use that much unwrapped. And that way, again, you can save quite a bit of weight. Saddles are also a brilliant way to save weight off your bike. Now, stock saddles, kind of entry-level ones like what your bike probably came with, they usually have steel rails and typically weigh between sort of 250 and 300 grams, maybe even more. But if you go for a top-end premium saddle, then that can weigh, well, easily half that. A great example would be the Physique Arione, which is my sort of favourite saddle shape. Now, the top of the range Arione, the 00, weighs just 140 grams. It's really lightweight. And if you compare that to the entry-level model, the classic with its steel rails, that's around 250 grams. So over 100 gram saving there just on a saddle. And there are other saddles out there that are really light and carbon and very minimalist that weigh, much less. You can get saddles that weigh around sort of 70 grams out there as well. Now, buying a top-end saddle, it's usually going to cost around 200 pounds, euros, or dollars more than a sort of entry-level one. They can cost well over 300, which is a lot of money, I know. But when you compare the weight saving you get from a saddle and the amount it costs compared to something else on a bike, such as, well, the equivalent weight saving in a frame, the amount of money you'd have to spend on a bike frame to make that same weight saving is a lot more, meaning that it's actually a cost-effective way to save weight. This next one isn't for everyone, but if you're looking for a really cost-effective way to save a load of weight off your bike, then this is one of the best ways to do it. Now, you may remember we did a video on an ultralight hill climb bike built by a guy called Steve that weighed just 4.28 kilograms. I know, ridiculous. Well, one of the things that Steve did to his bike was to painstakingly and meticulously rub all the paint off his frame and forks, something which saved him over 300 grams. Now, this requires a lot of patience and a lot of elbow grease, and you have to be really careful that you just rub through the lacquer, the paint and the primer, and you don't start actually rubbing away at the carbon fibre itself, as that is, well, kind of structurally important to the bike frame. But it is something that can be done. It can also be done professionally if you're willing to pay for it, and you can get people to go and do it for you. But it's important to point out that doing this is highly likely to invalidate your warranty on your frame. So it's probably best doing on a bike that's already out of warranty, or if you've got a special project in mind for like an ultralight hill climb build like Steve. Bottle cages are a real easy modification or upgrade you can make to your bike that make it look smarter, but also save a significant amount of weight. There's not a huge amount of weight to be saved from a bottle cage, but if you've got, say, something like a traditional steel cage on your bike, then switching to a lighter carbon cage like this is going to save a significant amount. These weigh just 25 grams, these Shuttle X cages from Peak. My advice, though, would be that unless you are building a total weight weenie bike, the really light bottle cages that you can get that are around 10 grams from specialist brands, they're kind of a bit of a false economy because they don't tend to be, there's like a fine line to be struck with bottle cages in you don't want a cage that's so light that it doesn't actually securely hold your bottles very effectively. In which case, if you got to that point, you might as well just not have a cage on at all. Just save weight that way. One of my favourite ways to lose weight on a bike, and it's something that I think a lot of people overlook or forget about, is quick release skewers. Most people just use the ones that their bike came with. And standard quick release skewers tend to be significantly heavier than more exotic titanium ones, lighter weight ones that you can get online. Now there's loads of quick release skewers on the internet if you search for them from loads of different brands. And you can typically expect to save at least 60 grams across a pair of quick release skewers without spending much money. I mean, around sort of $40 can easily see you save around 60, 70 grams. Now again, that might be seen as quite a bit of money depending on your perspective, but if you compare it to trying to save that same sort of 60, 70 grams across a fancy high-end group set component, say moving from a 105 part to a Shimano Dura Ace parts in the equivalent thing, it's gonna cost you a lot more money to do that. Another overlooked way to save some weight off your bike, I mean, perhaps because it's just not a very kind of sexy component, it's certainly not as sexy as a nice bling pair of wheels, is cable outers, right? Now bear with me. Cables and their outers, they need replacing periodically anyway. So next time you need to replace your cables, why not spend a little bit more money and just go for some much lighter ones, and seriously much lighter. So a linked cable outer like this, it performs just as effectively as a standard one, costs a little bit more money, but it's 50% lighter, and you can get them in different colours as well, so you can really sort of colour coordinate and bling up your bike. Perfect for getting it in the bike vault. Now, we couldn't do a video on cost-effective ways to save weight on your bike without talking about DRILLIUM. Now, those of you that are new to cycling might not be familiar with DRILLIUM, so allow me to explain. In the olden days, if you wanted to lose weight off your bike, then it meant you had to engage in the dark arts of DRILLIUM, which meant getting your drill or Dremel out and drilling and milling holes in every conceivable component and location in order to remove unnecessary material and save weight. Weight weenies back in the day would drill out holes in brakes, chain sets, chain rings, shifters, frames, stems, handlebars, pedals, saddles, everything. Nothing was safe from DRILLIUM. And even pros did it as well. People like Eddie Merckx were known to be filling their bike full of holes because weight limits didn't exist back then, and well, you could just drill things out to your heart content. And when done properly as well, it turned it into kind of an art form. DRILLIUM could look really cool. It's a lot less prevalent now for a couple of big reasons. Firstly, most top-end bike components are made from carbon fibre now, and drilling carbon fibre can often cause it to laminate and splinter, which isn't ideal, and it's already very light to begin with anyway. And the other problem is that, people realised that cullenders aren't very aero. Still, I mean, it does look really cool though, doesn't it? If I had a steel bike, I'd love to go to town on it with a Dremel. That would be cool. Anyway, I hope you found this video useful and you've enjoyed it. And if you have, then please support the channel, give us a like and all the rest of it. And let us know in the comments section what we've missed. What other sort of really cost-effective ways to make your bike lighter do you use and have you done in the past? Share your experiences with us. And also, if you've not got the app yet, download the GCN app, because you can submit any lightweight upgrades that you've made to your bikes or equipment into the app as well. And that's great. We'd love to see them and feature them in an up-and-coming tech show. Yeah, cullenders, not very aero. Yeah.